Loyalty is obsolete, but not in the way that you think of for your relationships and your friendships. It's still a great value to have. You want people to be loyal, but where it's obsolete is as a management practice. I love this topic because it's something that I see all the time. And specifically, if you're paying attention to the challenges that managers have with managing multi-generational workforces. So this is a workforce that's composed of boomers, Gen Xers, Gen Y, millennials, and Gen Zers. One of the knife's edge topics that tends to divide the way that people manage is this idea of loyalty. And so the practice that is obsolete around loyalty is management by blank checks. There's a school of thought that when people manage their team, they want them to be 100% loyal, no matter what that is. And that's difficult to do now when you're the person working for a manager like that. So we've heard for decades now that things like Social Security are going away. There are very few companies now that even have a pension anymore. And so when you think about somebody going into the workforce, this idea of loyalty is something that isn't that attractive, that it isn't rewarding to stay with a company for 10, 20 years anymore. It isn't rewarding to stay in one place. In fact, there's lots of people on YouTube, lots of people online who will tell you that the way to increase your salary, the way to increase your income is to go back to the market, to take your skills, up-level them, go back to the market and get what you're worth. And part of that is negotiating for what you're worth. And so when you think of loyalty as a management practice, it's management by blank checks that's obsolete. You can't ask for people to write you a blank check to say that you will do whatever it is that I ask you to do, but I will just give you this limited set of rewards or compensation. Loyalty in that way, expecting people to give you an open-ended commitment for something that, for pay or for rewards that are limited, it's not a formula that'll work in the future. And so what can be different? I talk about the purposes of work, and Peter Drucker, a world and historically famous writer of management topics and all things management, he talks about the purpose of management and the purpose of work. And one of those things is, and economists will say that the purpose of any business is to exist, it's to be profitable. That's the primary purpose. I call that the A purpose of any business. But there's also a B purpose. So the purpose of companies, Peter Drucker writes about this as well, is that we have a social purpose, that by factor of bringing people together, asking of them their lives, their time and commitment, there's a social purpose too, and that companies have an obligation to treating their people well, to helping them grow and to help them succeed. That's a good thing. You don't avoid the B purpose. That there are very good reasons for creating work within your company that serves that B purpose. It's not something that you can avoid. I learned about the existence of it in a funny way, though, that when I first became a manager and I first learned about creating budgets, that you're actually disincentivized for giving an accurate budget. You're not supposed to ask for exactly how much you need. You're supposed to ask for a little bit more. And the reason for that is because if it was just about budgeting for the A purpose of your business, for the reason why it exists, you could probably come up with a pretty accurate estimate for how many hours you need, labor, materials, and things like that. But you have to factor in the B purpose, all of those things, the work that you do to nurture and care for your people. There's actually a C purpose for work as well. And this is kind of a hidden cost that I've seen at work. And it really makes the point of why loyalty as a management practice and management by blank checks is obsolete, is because the C purpose of work is actually the one that takes up a huge portion of cost, both in terms of time and effort, as well as money. And the C purpose is kind of, it's deceptive because it exists in order to exist. So the B purpose work in any company is so that the people can thrive within the company and fulfill the A purpose of the business. Whatever it is that you do, is it a product or a service to help people and create profit? But the C purpose of work is a sinister one almost, because it's the work that's created so that it justifies someone being there. It justifies existence. And oftentimes, it doesn't contribute to the A purpose of work. And so how we might see this is long-time staffers for companies or people that are in leadership positions that are trying to justify their existence, justify their salaries, even though their work doesn't directly contribute to the profitability of a company. The C purpose of work in that way is work that people create that's kind of wasteful. And so when managers are managing by blank checks, they're not only asking their teams to say, do whatever it takes to fulfill the A purpose and the B purpose of this company, but for whatever else that we deem as necessary for that C purpose. Is it justifying our existence? Is it justifying my role, my position? And so that's where a lot of people who are coming into the workforce, when they see wasteful work happening, when you see people who are creating work for the sake of work, it's harder to stomach that. It's harder to say that I'll be loyal and give you 100% of myself to do things that I think are wasteful. So if management by blank checks, management by loyalty is obsolete, what's better? I think Tim Ferriss probably described it best in one of his books. It might have been The 4-Hour Body. But he describes this idea of the minimum effective dose, MED, minimum effective dose. I think it comes from medicine, but the idea is, what is the minimum dose of a medication, of something to get you the desired effect? And so management by minimum effective dose is, how do I achieve the A purpose of my business with the minimum amount of time and effort? You might think that might sound obvious, that's, yeah, of course, it's being efficient. But think about why that's not the reality today. Why is it that somebody who can get their job done faster with less time oftentimes can be seen as a threat or be seen as somebody who's not loyal? Oftentimes managers who manage by blank check or by loyalty expect people to be in their seats for 8 hours even though the work that they've asked them to do is done in 1. Why is that? What's the value of somebody sitting in a seat other than the impression of them being loyal? And so management by minimum effective dose for a manager is understanding what is the A purpose of my business. How do I break that down into clear commitments and clear agreements with the people on my team so that they can accomplish that and have freedom to accomplish it in a way that's efficient? And that way, we're not asking for a blank check from the people on our team. We're not asking them to put up with wasteful work. We're not expecting them to create drama or to create fake work to justify why they're being here. What is the minimum effective work for them to accomplish that A purpose? It's what I call allowing your team to hit home runs. And so with your A purpose, if your team has no way of hitting home runs in any given day, everything else gets harder. So if your team members don't have a way to contribute to the A purpose of your business, it doesn't matter how much lemonade you put in the break room, it doesn't matter how many ping pong tables or offsites or rewards you give them. It won't motivate them to do a good job if they don't have a clear path to hitting home runs to that A purpose of your business. There are 2 resources that managers can use to really drive this point home. The first one is an article that was written by Michael Jensen. He is an economist, a writer, an author, a professor, and he wrote this article about integrity that a lot of people missed out on, but it's one of the most important articles around integrity that you can read. So I highly recommend reading it. It's about 6 pages long. It can read very dry at times, but the points that it makes are solid. And the reason why integrity is so important is because in order to make clear commitments, clear agreements, managing by minimum effective dose, is that you have to know when somebody is able to be in integrity and out of integrity, and allowing people what that means and how you create the environment that lets people be in integrity is super important for them to make clear agreements and commitments. The second resource is an exercise that I recommend for managers. And so that's to take the A purpose of your business. I use a diagram I call the stickman diagram, and it's to draw a picture. Draw a picture of the person who has a need or a problem, and draw a picture, add to that the stickman of who it is that helps that person, and what is the transaction between the two that solves that problem. And break that down into all of the capabilities, all the tasks underneath that help the person in your business achieve that and help that person. And so that's a really simple diagram. And from that, create what is it that are the clear agreements and commitments that you're asking of your team, and give them an opportunity to do that.